It's not a bird, it's not a plane, it's Superhero Slate. It's a modern podcast where we talk about everything that's great, like movies, TV, superheroes. It's Superhero Slate, oh yeah.
Hello everyone and welcome to Superhero Slate, the show where we run down the latest superhero entertainment news.
We love TV, movies, and superheroes, so let's talk it all out.
My name is Chris Dillard.
And my name is Mike Royer.
And this week, we review Captain Marvel.
Mm-hmm.
We did. We get an opening date for Star Wars Land.
Ooh, yes.
Shazam wants us to say his name.
Captain Sparkles.
Sparkle Fingers and more.
Yeah, we just finished recording our Captain Marvel review, so if you're subscribed to the podcast, you'll see that review pop up in your feed. We're not going to lay down any spoilers today in this episode, but if you check out our spoiler cast review, you'll get it all there. So yeah, just make sure you're subscribed, everybody.
Yeah, that's right. Subscribe to our feed. It'll be there. We also have we have a review feed as well. I don't know a lot of people know this, where if you just want our reviews or you want to share something you like, hey, they don't care about Superhero Movie News Weekly, but they want to hear our reviews, you can subscribe to that as well. Because some people just don't want to listen to us every week. They just want to hear what we think about movies.
A bit of acquired taste, I suppose. There was this really funny thing I forgot to mention in my theater-going experience for Captain Marvel. So I go to Cinemark Cinemas, and they have their own little bumpers that they make before the movie starts. Like right after the previews end, you see a little thing from the theater that you're at. There's this really awkward thing that they filmed where there's this couple on a date, and then the girl on the date breaks the third wall and leans towards the screen and says, "Oh, I bought these tickets on my Cinemark app, and so I was able to pay for the tickets, and he paid for the popcorn." It was something like that, but it was so awkward. It felt so weird, and it was so quiet and silent. There was like no soundtrack underneath it. My wife leaned over to me and said, "This is so awkward." And then the little girl sitting next to me just said just out loud, "This is so awkward." So literally two people at the exact same time told me it was awkward just to the audience. So Cinemark, if you're listening, you're gonna have to pull that weird thing that you made.
Yeah, is that just saying females can buy movie tickets too, or is that what that was going for?
I don't know what it was, but it was weird. So if you go to a Cinemark theater, look out for that weird experience. Let me know. Maybe we'll do a spoiler cast just on that 15-second commercial.
Yeah, I don't know if we saw an Infinity War trailer before, or Endgame trailer before Captain Marvel.
You know what? I don't believe I did either. Yeah, no, it wasn't. We got X-Men, Dark Phoenix, which no one really hooping and hollering about that in the theater. We saw the Spider-Man one for sure. We saw the older Shazam one, not the one that just came out, which is always weird. Like they always premiere these trailers, and I never get them by the next time I go see a movie. So I
saw the new one though. I'm gonna go the other way. I got to see the new one.
I don't know what they're doing at my theater, man. They're
slacking.
Yeah, they're slacking. Yeah, but I didn't see the Endgame, which makes me think we might be getting our tickets available soon trailer. But we'll talk about that maybe in the news here.
Yeah. Other than that, I don't know what I did this weekend, and that confuses me because this is one of those weekends. Well, I worked a charity event today. That's why we're recording a little later than usual because I worked a charity event, and now we have a daylight savings time change, and that's just throwing me all out of whack. I don't know if I'm coming or going right now.
I'm out here on the West Coast, and California just passed a ballot measure back in November where we might be able to repeal daylight savings time for our state. So this may be the very last time that I set my clocks forward. I don't know exactly when the House out here is gonna vote on it, but I might not have to worry about this anymore, Chris.
Well, then you're gonna go back to what Indiana was. 10, 15 years ago, whenever we didn't have time zones, which was really hard because we were right on the line. So we half the year we were in oh yeah, we're on the same time as Illinois and Kentucky, and then the other time's no, we're an hour behind them. So which time zone do you watch your TV shows on? Because is it Eastern or Central? I don't know. This is gonna be really awkward. But they all just need to make a decision on that. Everybody does it once, but it doesn't matter. I'm here and I'm happy, and we have some news. Mike, you just want to jump into it? Like, you want to get into it?
Yeah, let's jump into the news, man.
All right, because we saw Captain Marvel this weekend, and I think that's like the biggest thing for this week, and that's why our news show was very, very light in terms of topics. So, Captain Marvel came out. I got to see it Thursday night opening. You had to go Saturday afternoon, and you'll never do that again.
Yeah, I'll never do that again. I'm not going to wait that long anymore.
Yeah, you can listen to the spoiler-free section of our review episode to learn about Mike's woes and how he hates people at this point. Really,
yep. People are disgusting. People are worse. No one knows how to behave in a movie theater anymore. It's all awful, Chris.
Yeah, it's every time we do a movie, it's one or the other of us that has a really bad experience or a really interesting one. So it's Mike this time. I'm gonna let you go first, Mike, to drop your spoiler-free review or recommendation or not recommendation right here at the top of the show.
Well,
Sir.
it's definitely hard not to recommend a Marvel movie, and this continues the trend of I would recommend anyone go see this. Doesn't quite live up to all of the other really top tier Marvel movies that we've had in the past, kind of like, your top 3 or your top 5. This kind of settles down maybe with the Ant-Mans, with the Doctor Stranges, possibly the first Thor and first Captain America, but those are all kind of introductory movies. So maybe that's just Marvel in general. Maybe your first coming out of a character is not going to be as great as you always want it to be. So crossing my fingers that the next Captain Marvel movie will just really dive deeper. We want more from this character, and we just didn't get quite what we wanted. But luckily, at the core, they did what they needed to do. They made Carol Danvers a very likable character. If you're thinking about all of these MCU movies as action figures that you just put in a big pile and you play with when an Avengers movies come around, she's a great action figure. She's a great addition. So her character is fun. It's solid. Her story in her first film is a little rough, but I'm just glad her character as a core is good and solid, and we can move forward with it. So still easy to review. You'll have a fun time. There's some good classic Marvel humor in it. The de-aging technology on Sam Jackson's face is freaking amazing. I don't understand it. Don't know how they're doing it. Don't know how much money it costs, but it's past the uncanny valley. Like, I don't know if we ever had the uncanny valley being an issue with de-aging somebody, but you never once believe he's not that age. So it's great. So go check it out. And they do some really cool storytelling things in the film. But it was a little rough. Unfortunately, there was some bumps where I got a little bored in the movie, which that's always rough. But they seem to recover. So I wish I could be just jumping up and down and saying it's perfect, but not every movie is going to be perfect, and that's okay. So, Chris, what did you think?
I think you needed a phone or something to entertain yourself while you record during the movie. That might have really changed your mind.
Oh God, Chris, don't bring up that person.
I think me and Mike are probably in pretty much agreement. This movie is really fun. You're gonna have a great time watching all the action, watching everything going on. But at the same time, there was so much more. I wanted more out of this movie. I wanted more backstory. I wanted more characters, because the characters and actors are so solid. They're so strong. You want more of them. Like, you're really excited to see them and have this adventure with them. And you're like, oh my gosh, I want to see them in Endgame, because this movie is literally less than 2 months away from Endgame. The most, I wouldn't say maybe the most hype since it's close to Infinity War level. It is sandwiched between 2 Avengers movies that you can't not watch, and it kind of suffers for that, because we talked about this being there's a Marvel puzzle on the wall. You're working on it, right? You have 4 pieces left, and you got Captain Marvel, which is set in the 90s, and you're like, how do I put this puzzle in here, this piece in here? And you mentioned, you got to kind of maybe squish it in there, maybe trim off a little bit of the puzzle to get in there, but it fits, and it's fun, and it looks good, but you're like, that piece could have been so much better at the end of the day.
If you get a little close, you can kind of see the gaps in the puzzle piece a little bit.
Yeah, but from a distance, you're still having a good time. And Brie Larson as Carol Danvers, Samuel Jackson as Nick Fury, the heroes, the Skrulls, the Kree, everybody is just it's such a good time though. You're like, you want to see her succeed, and you want to see her show up in game. So.
Brie Larson is so likable. I don't know if you saw it on social media, but yesterday she went out to a couple AMC theaters on Saturday to just like hang out with the people seeing her movie. She was like working the concession stands, like giving popcorn to people, like taking selfies. Like that is so cool. She's so likable. She's so sweet. So they really did a great casting there. But we wanted more of you, Carol. So hopefully we'll get more of her soon.
Yeah, I'll definitely want a sequel, but we're not going to get any announcements until well after Endgame is done and closed. And
if I had to pitch our spoiler cast to the people out there, me and Chris are very divisive on Goose the Cat. So if you want to hear our opinions on Goose the Cat and what could have been and what wasn't, go check out the spoiler cast.
Yeah, definitely. In that regard, though, to change gears a little bit, Mike, we can also say that this is the 6th highest opening movie of all time.
Wow, that's really strong. Is that domestic?
Worldwide. This is worldwide.
That's pretty big.
That's actually big. The only things that beat it, like I mentioned before, is the movies that are much larger. Infinity War, Fate of the Furious, Star Wars 7, Jurassic World, and Harry Potter's and the Deathly Hallows Part 2. All sequels, and not origin films.
From top-tier franchises.
Yeah, so movies that are very hyped. And this is the 6th one right now. It's almost at half a billion dollars the first weekend. And it's the 7th domestic Marvel movie, which is it's a little weird. It puts it behind Black Panther, all 3 Avengers movies, Civil War, and Iron Man 3 domestically, but overall the world's loving this movie. Like it is doing gangbusters in its opening weekend, and I think that's a testament to how much fun people are having with it as well. Like, you can't say a movie's bad when that many people go and see it.
And also just the Marvel brand in general. I mean, they've earned so much goodwill over the last decade making these films that even when they put out a film that maybe is not as great as it could have been, it still rakes in the cash. So Kevin Feige, you are doing something unprecedented. Good job, buddy.
Yeah,
I wish I could call Kevin Feige my buddy. He could come over. Hey, what's going on, man?
I mean, I'm buying his hats. He can at least hang out with me for a little bit. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But so I mean, I think that the numbers speak for itself. And if anyone's worried, well, you shouldn't be, because it's a really fun movie. And like we said, you should see it. But the numbers are speaking for itself. I also think, what I really enjoyed about this is the songs. I don't think these songs give anything away, Mike. Do you? I don't think so.
No.
So you can find the soundtrack link of these disjointed songs that are in there, because this is set in the 90s, of course, we all know this, and these are late 80s to early 90s songs, and I think they're really fun, so I put them in here in a little Spotify playlist that you can listen to. So you can check that out as well. I was going to say something else about Captain Marvel, but I don't want to ruin it for anybody, and I think it's a great movie. So.
Self-censoring. Good job, Chris.
Bingo. But the hype is real for Endgame now, Mike. We are in the Endgame now. Can we say that? How many times can we say this until this movie comes out?
Exactly, right?
We had a tweet earlier this week from the Russo brothers confirming they're in picture lock. And do you know what picture lock means?
That means that the footage, it's locked. There's no going back in and clipping and changing things. It's done.
Yep, so it's pretty much 99% done. The story is in place. The edits from here will be minor. They cannot go back and change anything. We are less than 90 days away, or not less than 60 days away. We're like 50 days away. They can't really change anything. They got this printed, cut and printed, and I'm very, very excited for this, because I think this week we are going to get a new Endgame trailer, Mike. And do you know why we're going to get a new Endgame trailer?
That's because Captain Marvel is now out the bag.
Yes, we now know who she is, and that, spoiler alert, because if all the merchandise hasn't ruined it for you, she is in Endgame.
Yeah.
And that they will probably be selling movie tickets with this as well.
They got to give us time to pre-purchase our tickets. So I don't know if they would necessarily want to do it this week coming up, right off the coattails of Captain Marvel. Maybe they want to give her, accomplishments at the box office a little bit more breathing room, or maybe they're just like, no, screw it. We got to get into this ticket phase. We're like, what, 6 weeks away?
Yeah, it's 6 weeks away. I mean, like now, at that number, box office number, I mean, almost everyone has seen this movie, or a lot of people have seen this movie. Like, you'd be surprised to find it. They are hyped for Captain Marvel. You know how you're gonna capture on that hype? Buy a ticket to see her again in an Endgame, and I think that's what we're gonna get. So, I'm very excited to see if that comes true or not. But that would be my marketing prediction in terms of like when we're gonna be able to buy tickets for that. I have a source. Someone emailed me this, Mike.
Okay, an email. Very, very old school.
I was informed that this would be coming my way through other channels. I got to be very vague here.
Okay.
I have seen the theater buckets for Endgame.
Oh,
the
okay.
Popcorn buckets. They are embargoed until I think the movie comes out, or even like I think next month. I think April. I don't know which one it is, but I have seen them, and Captain Marvel is on them.
Okay,
just
that
like
makes
all
sense.
the screenshots and all the other leaked artwork we've seen. But that is official. I've seen one in person now, so or at least I know the person who was able to show me this, and they're real. So I'm very excited to see that. That's true. We have some strong female actresses in the MCU, Mike.
Yeah, that's
very
true.
Strong. Much like Black Widow. Oh, see that segue? That was a nice segue into it.
It was so fast, I didn't even see it. It was a blur.
They are trying to find frontrunners to be the villain or opposite of Black Widow, Scarlett Johansson, in the movie for next year. And big news here, Emma Watson is one of the frontrunners to play that villain.
Now, who doesn't love Emma Watson?
Yeah.
Our Harry Potter alumni. Yeah, I'm on board with this.
That would be, isn't that the dream to get a Harry Potter alumni in your movie now? Like, most people want Marvel people in their movies, but now they're getting Harry Potter people in their movies. So I think that's a huge draw for people who maybe, I don't think anyone who's into Harry Potter isn't into Marvel. So, I think we're fine here. But you get some cross-pollination with that. But I think she'd be a really, really nice ad.
She's, age-wise, it seems like she would play possibly a younger person. So maybe maybe this organ. What was the thing that created Black Widow? What was that? Russian
it was the Red Room.
Yeah, the Red.
But I forget what it. I think it's like she's Russian, so KGB or something like that.
Yeah, maybe that organization has been like relit, or maybe they were underground for a while, and maybe now they're producing new agents, and maybe. Emma Watson is one of these new agents, and Black Widow has to go in and shut it down.
You've done an idea in my head here. What if this is like Jason Bourne style?
I've done an idea.
You've helped me out. Like, could you imagine a Jason Bourne like cat and mouse spy thriller with Black Widow and Emma Watson as the other villain, spy?
That would be really cool.
Yeah, that would be like a new genre. They kind of did thriller with Winter Soldier, and that worked really well. But like, imagine her past, like an improved operative is hunting down the Black Widow after her stint in the Avengers, and they're like, hey, look. You're a threat to the world now. We need to come take you out. So I would love to see something like that.
Maybe we can just get a good old-fashioned nuclear warhead to be kind of like our thing we have to thwart in a Marvel movie. It's always some sort of super-powered like sky beam or some sort of end-of-world monster. Maybe Black Widow's just got to disable a nuke, just old school.
Well, that's exactly what Avengers was. It was a sky beam and a nuclear warhead.
Yeah, the nuke beat the sky beam, yeah.
Yeah, it was all three of those, Mike. That's exactly what kicked it off right there. So yeah, I think that'd be fun. I think Emma Watson would be great, and maybe she needs an action. Maybe she needs to turn as an action person rather than a rom-com wizard person.
Rom-com wizard.
Exactly. Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Season 7 is, I believe, thought to be the last season per Clark Gregg. They started filming that recently, and I think he said it might be the last season. Now, they thought Season 5 was their last season as well, so maybe they want to kick it up a little bit.
The little show that just keeps on trucking, man.
Yeah, it's got 2 smaller seasons. In May, we're going to get 13 episodes I think in May, and then like 13 more for Season 7 whenever that comes out. But that's going to pick up right where Endgame left off. Do you think they're going to acknowledge Endgame at all?
I could see them doing it maybe just very tongue-in-cheek. We don't really know exactly what happens when the Earth is put back together. Do people know that they were dusted? Is this a reality? Are they going to come back to Earth and it's going to be all moss covered and they're going to have to clean a bunch of stuff because no one's been there for a while? We don't really know exactly how reality is going to be reset, but maybe someone could just be like, man, I felt like I woke up on the wrong side of the bed. It's like, oh man, me too. Like, oh, me three. Maybe just that's what it feels like to come back. It just feels like, oh, you just didn't get a good night's sleep. So I could maybe see a tongue-in-cheek explanation, but I don't know if it's really gonna affect everything.
Shield has become its own little entity while still acknowledging the MCU at large. And we've talked a little bit about that. I mean, they're the one of the first, like they touch on aliens and all that other fun stuff. Inhumans before that show came along and ruined everything. So it's like it's very connected to the MCU, unlike any of the Netflix shows or any other show in that universe, even Runaways or what was the other, Cloak and Dagger. So I think they could do it, but do they need to? Nah, I think it's very solid on its own. So Clark Gregg and Ming-Na Wen will both be at C2E2 in a couple weeks. So
hey, there you go.
Maybe if I can stop him and be like, hey, I like you in the Marvel movies, he'll acknowledge me.
You're pretty cool, bruh.
Yeah, pretty cool. Good job, Coulson, agent, sir. But yeah. In news Mike probably doesn't like one bit. I'm feeling this because I sent him the picture and he was like, what? Morbius has started filming, and Jared Leto has shared the first image from this, and it looks like he's in a barber chair, to be honest. But it says Morbius, they're filming. He's got long hair possibly behind his little dead looking eyes.
I just don't know what the draw is here. Like, even though I didn't really need or want the Venom movie, at least you have a very iconic character that we've actually previously seen in a Spider-Man movie. And so I could see that being a draw to get people there. Venom also kind of weirdly, even visually, kind of looks like Spider-Man in some ways. But like Jared Leto playing basically a Marvel vampire, like what, they're gonna have to really knock it out of the park with that first trailer if they want to get any hype from anybody. Like, what are you gonna do? Like, who's he fighting? Are you gonna sneak Blade in there somehow? Is that how you're gonna get everybody excited?
Nah, they want Blade.
How do you get people excited about Morbius? I'm not saying that you can't make an entertaining movie about like a vampire, but you're playing in the Marvel sandbox. If you don't take advantage of that, it's just gonna make me very mad.
Well, I think the thing is with this, I mean, the exact thing you're saying is the exact thing people said about Iron Man when it started. Now, will I say this movie is going to be good as Iron Man? No, but nobody believes in B-list characters until they come and prove themselves. I think Jared Leto is one of those actors who's either on the great side of the scale or the worst side of the scale. He's no in-between. Like, there's never a medium Jared Leto performance.
He seems to be swinging for the fences, and sometimes he connects with the ball, and sometimes it's a strike.
Exactly. So is this one of those movies? Is this a sleeper hit? Will this be better because we don't have a writer or a script that's been in flux for like 20 years? I don't know, but it is, in fact, happening, and I think that's the biggest surprise, because I'm like, are they really going to go through with a Morbius? And judging by what looks to be like some sort of virus, blood virus on the thing there, the slate, I don't...
Isn't it so weird that we're getting a Morbius movie before we're getting that Gambit movie?
It's not weird. It's not weird at all.
A weird universe we live in, man.
So, yeah, it is weird. Everything's weird. I don't know what's going on. But here it is, man. We can't avoid it. We can't run from it any longer. Morbius will be coming because Marvel is not buying Columbia Studios. Sadly, they're only buying Fox, so we can only win half of them. Yeah, I just I don't know. It's here. Here's the picture. It says 12 weeks of filming. That's great.
Yeah, speaking from the pictures, there's just not a whole lot to see. It's just a little clapper movie slate, and you see kind of Jared Leto's obscured face behind it.
His eyes are very clear for some reason. I don't know why, but his eyes are very like visible over this slate here. And yeah, it's they're filming it. We can't avoid it now. There it is. Anyway, actor Jared Harris, known as Moriarty in Sherlock Holmes 2. He's been in other stuff too, but man, he is a scary looking dude. Like creepy, scary looking dude. Like a real life Hannibal Lecter, kind of scary. Has joined the cast, and I believe somebody else did as well. Or is in talks to Tyrese Givens, whoever is in those fast movies who nobody cares about, that guy.
Ooh, you probably just made a bunch of people really mad.
Well,
I think some people have a soft spot for Tyrese in those films because he's just
what does he do in those though? He's just there.
He's a wacky goofball type of character.
Oh my gosh, no, I don't want him. But yeah, he's joined as well. So I think, and that's okay. I mean, you know who Jared Harris is, right? You looked it up. You know.
Yeah. He looks like he could possibly be a villain or a grizzled detective.
I think he's probably gonna play the villain. He looks like he'd be like, "Hey, I'm an old guy who wants to become immortal," like kind of character. So he'd probably inject himself with the thing, or some crazy scientist dude, like an evil scientist. Oh well. This is news you sent me because I totally was not connected whenever this came out. But Star Wars Galaxy's Edge, the theme park we've always dreamed and wanted, is opening this year, Mike, and much sooner than I thought it would be.
Ooh, yeah. Looks like we got May 31st for Disneyland out here in Southern California.
You lucky son of a bitch.
We get it before you. And then August 29th down in Florida.
I don't live anywhere near Florida either, so I get neither of these. But I mean, you're just there to walk in. About the time August 29th rolls around, yours may be empty enough to walk in and not feel like...
yeah, usually I make it a tradition to go to Disneyland on my birthday, which is in November. So hopefully that'll be enough time to at least be able to ride one of those rides. I haven't been to Disneyland enough during like brand new openings to kind of be able to judge when's the best time to go, how many months do you have to wait, but I'm sure it's going to be a madhouse when it first opens. But I would imagine Florida maybe is taking a little longer because it's probably bigger. If you're not familiar with Disneyland out here, listeners, it's just not as big. You don't have as much physical real estate to build stuff, so it's just not going to be as big, but I'm sure it's going to be really cool and technological. I'm going to go to California Adventure, and I'm going to get my Groot bread, and then I'm going to take it over to Disneyland, and I'm going to dip it in some blue milk.
I think I'm coming to California in July.
You are.
We might have a day to go down to Disneyland and do Star Wars World.
We might have to see what we can do.
Or I'll just leave you behind. I'll take an Uber. How far is it? Like 10 minutes? Like, right?
Sure.
Right down the road. I don't know anything about how far this is from you, but I mean... I might have to try this out because I think when I'm coming out to you, my wife's actually going to Harry Potter World in Florida, so it'd be a good way to be like, ha ha ha, I went to Star Wars Land.
Gotta one up the wife. That always works well for the relationship.
Yeah, well, we talked about all the food and all this. Well, I'm not really one upping her. I just don't get to go to Harry Potter World, so that's kind of upset. But I mean, like, we talked about all the food and the drinks and the fun. Like the rides are going to be probably miles and miles long, but I would still love to just give it a try, like to get that experience out of the way. But that's really cool. If you guys are looking to book your Disney stuff, wait till that's done. Go give it like 3 months and go. Because we went to Toy Story Land this year, and that opened up late last year, I think. Mm-hmm. And it was packed by midday. But if you go early enough, people aren't out there, man. Kids don't want to get up that early. That's for sure. We also got to see a Shazam trailer number 2 this week after Comic-Con last year. We finally get a second trailer, Mike. This has been my biggest complaint. They are not marketing this movie to its full potential, and I'm very upset by that.
Yeah, we were talking last week. You really needed another trailer to kind of change your opinion on this movie. So I want to know, did it do it? What did it do? Did it change your opinion? Did it get you hyped? Did it show you anything new?
It did not. At the end of the, like, I'm trying to love this movie, but as a film, all of this showing me like, hey, this kid gets powers, and this movie is just him goofing around with his powers. That's really all the trailers have been, right? Like, we see the villain twice, and that is it. We don't even know what the final battle is. We don't get to see them like go up against each other. Like, what is he actually doing with these powers other than accidentally not jumping over a single building in a one jump? Like, I don't know what to do with this movie in this trailer. Like, I don't know. And I want to like it. I really do. And I'm not feeling it. I'm one of those people, like I said, I wanted to see Aquaman before I saw this. And this is really just not selling me on at the end of the day. This
could be a good thing though, because if you go into the movie with very low expectations, maybe it'll really blow you away. I totally agree. For a second trailer, you would hope you'd get kind of a whole different idea of what this movie might end up being. Maybe see it from a different angle, just to kind of show you the diversity of what you might see at the theater. But yeah, it is pretty much more of the same. So I guess if you really dug what you saw in the first trailer, you're going to get more of it. But we don't really get any more context. So, obviously we're going to go see the film. So just a little underwhelming trailer is all.
Do you like Eminem as an artist? And you're going to love this. His name is Slim Shady. That's about the only thing I remember out of this trailer.
A new music track in it.
Yeah, that's yeah. It reminds me a lot of the Suicide Squad trailers we had way back when. Speaking of that, we have some information on the Suicide Squad from James Gunn.
King of the segues today, huh?
I'm working on it. We had a really good review episode, so I'm feeling it here. Gotta bring my A game. The working title for the Suicide Squad is called El Dorado, and we all know what working titles are, right? Mike, can you explain?
They don't mean nothing. It's basically what they're doing. So when they have to like blockade a street for filming, they're not just putting the word Suicide Squad on there, attracting a ton of attention. It's just what they use to fill out the paperwork, so that people don't go crazy.
And when people are like, well, they're out in the public, won't people know? The common person doesn't know this.
Yeah,
they don't know a thing.
What's El Dorado? I'm gonna just keep walking and go get my coffee. But if I see that sign, I'm not moving. I'm staying there all day.
Yeah. They did. I mean, the most famous one known for is Star Wars was known as Blue Harvest when they started working. I think it was Return of the Jedi. Even maybe that was the one because no one cared about the first one when it came out. So like, they usually pick a name that means nothing, so the average person would be like, oh, whatever, I'll walk along. But the rumored characters for this new team has leaked or been rumored at least a little bit, and these are kind of surprising. The most famous one out of these I know is the King Shark, who I believe is making his rounds in the Flash TV show.
Yeah, shout out to the Flash this past week. They had King Shark versus Gorilla Grodd on the CW, which I think is a really big accomplishment for that type of show that's on basically a television budget, producing 23 episodes a year, that they had just 2 full CG characters battling it out. At its worst, it looked like maybe a cutscene from like a PlayStation game, but at its best, it actually looked really, really good. They do a really good job rendering King Shark and Gorilla Grodd on the screen, so it was just fun too. I mean, come on, you're gonna be waiting forever for the big screen to put King Shark against Gorilla Grodd at some point in time, so you can get it on the Flash. So shout out to them.
Yeah, that's really cool. So that's out there. Have you heard of Mr. Polka-Dot?
No, not at all.
Okay, great. So he essentially gets these polka dot colored patches on his skin that he can turn into different weapons and abilities.
Oh, weird.
Yeah, it very much. Most of these are polka dot, and the next one's Ratcatcher. They're Batman villains.
Okay.
So polka dot was like kind of like a really C-list weird person. He kind of leaned into his weirdness a little bit. So I can see this working in James Gunn's favor for being a very, very obscure, weird character. A Ratcatcher is more of like a kind of a mercenary style person, but more of the ability to control rats. So like I imagine more of like the Pied Piper, but this is like Ant-Man but with mice.
All right, that's kind of cool.
So
that's kind of cool.
Yeah, I know you're a big rat fan, so I know that might be up your alley. And then the last character is called Peacemaker. And this is a person who's like, oh, I'm fighting for the name of peace, but I will kill for it and start wars. Like they're like completely opposite. So like a little mental, little bit in terms of like.
All right, it sounds a little bit kind of like the Punisher, possibly. Like by all means necessary, get justice.
Yeah, and by all means necessary, get peace, kind of thing. And like he's a little mental, like he's known for having some mental issues. So those are the main ones. But I think this is the biggest rumor right now, Mike, and. I still say it's rumor because this hasn't like come up a whole lot, but like the rumor is that Deadshot, who was played by Will Smith, will need to be in this movie, and Will Smith cannot make it in this movie because of his schedule. We all want to see Bright 2. I'll tell you that right now. So glad he's doing that. But Idris Elba is rumored to replace Will Smith as Deadshot.
Oh, I mean, we all love Idris Elba. He's going to be basically in his own superhero movie, the next Hobbs and Shaw. Yeah. We all wanted him to be Bond, but, he never got around to it. But I think this would work.
Can't he do better? He can't go to Marvel. He was already Heimdall. Can he do better?
I mean, he does kind of seem like an actor that you think he should be making kind of like Oscar-nominated movies by now because he's that talented, but maybe he just wants to cash in. So, cash in, Idris, if you want to. Go ahead. If you follow the really popular kind of Photoshop concept artist on Instagram, Boss Logic, he did like a little comp of what Idris Elba would look like in the Deadshot armor. And it looks good to me. It looks like he could slot in pretty well. So, I don't know if he's going to quite nail the kind of the Will Smith smarmy attitude, but I don't know. Maybe he can. Or maybe
he doesn't need to.
Yeah, maybe just that Suicide Squad movie is just so removed from our brains because it was so bad that you can really just do whatever you want now,
Yeah. Yeah, you probably could. And it sounds like it's more like a soft reboot anyways, with Margot Robbie being like the only person who is returning all in all. So I don't know. I kind of forgot Will Smith is even in Suicide Squad, to be honest with you. So
it's kind of hard to remember the movie in general.
You nailed it on the head there. Suicide Squad, written, directed by James Gunn, coming out from DC eventually. We'll keep an eye on this one as it progresses. Sad news for all Arrow fans. The first Berlanti show to meet its end. Season 8 this fall will have 10 episodes and will be the last season of Arrow. Yeah,
which all but confirms basically that the next crossover is going to be the finale for Arrow.
Yes, and I believe they said that's like this will be Crisis, which is like the biggest DC crossover. So
Crisis on Infinite Earths, which the logo was teased for at the end of the last crossover, which was Elseworld. So, I'm not sure if you're out there keeping up with it, but basically there's extremely heavy foreshadowing that Oliver Queen, the Green Arrow himself, will be sacrificing himself and will die, which will end Arrow as we know it. Who knows exactly what they're going to do? Maybe they'll find a way to give him a happy ending, but me and my wife, who do our best to kind of keep up with the Arrowverse lore in general, even though we don't watch all the shows, we kind of thought that, maybe the show Arrow itself could keep going without Stephen Amell. Maybe you just put a different person in the Green Arrow mantle, because it's a really big cast of characters over on that show. But I just thought it would be important to talk about that we have a superhero show here that will have gone for 8 seasons. I mean, that's a really big deal. I mean, S.H.I.E.L.D.'s not going to get to 8 seasons.
That we know of.
Yeah, I can't see any other superhero show that's quite made it there. So I just think that's a really big success. Yeah. And actually, it's something that we haven't. It's something. Oh yeah, that did go for a while, but it wasn't really in a broader universe. If you look at it in the scope of a broader universe, we haven't even yet reached the end of big characters in the MCU. I mean, it seems like maybe with Captain America we might be saying goodbye to him soon. We're not too sure what's going to happen there, but it is kind of crazy that out there in TV land that's been chugging along for 8 years, putting out stories, 8 times 20, is basically how many episodes you're looking at here. That's a pretty big accomplishment. So it just goes to show you that where was that comic book fatigue, people? People were talking about that for a while. I mean, cranked out 8 seasons of that show. It doesn't seem like it fatigued it. And this, from what I'm seeing, it seems like everybody's ending on their own terms. It was not canceled. The word cancel was not thrown out there anywhere. So it seems like they're going to end it the way they want it.
And that gives them a way to wrap it up however they need to as well, no matter what that is, good, bad, or ugly. I feel it's going to end kind of like how The Dark Knight Rises ended. Like, you think he sacrificed himself, but then you find out he may be on a different world. He's living happily somewhere else. With somebody.
That would kind of go into the theme of basically that he is Batman in these worlds. Yeah. And also, it seems like he might be getting replaced on the weekly lineup with Batwoman. Yeah, which, got kind of 2 brooding, dark characters there. It seems like they would be pretty interchangeable on the schedule,
And hopefully they take that budget and put it into Batwoman, like you said, and it's not just randomly place gargoyles. So
yeah, exactly. So I just wanted to give a sign off to Arrow, which is going to be ending. I believe the crossovers air in November, like just before Thanksgiving. So look out for the crossover. And
they'll market it the hell out of this one, so don't you folks worry. You won't forget it's there.
Yeah,
they'll let you know.
Yeah, and there's a whole lot of back catalog there. So if you haven't been watching Arrow, if you don't watch any of these CW shows, I would say it's actually kind of fun, maybe without any context, to just jump in and watch the crossovers. You can just download the CW app or just go to CW.com, I think, and you can just stream all of the stuff for free, with commercial breaks. So yeah, I would be really interested if you haven't watched any CW show. Go watch the Elseworlds crossover and just be like, "Whoa! I didn't know Martian Manhunter was going to be in that." It's just fun. It's just a fun time.
What I'm excited for is to watch the Gotham series finale this year without watching any of the episodes, because their actual Batman episode.
So. Oh yeah, that'll be weird. Yeah, we should definitely watch that.
I'm definitely looking for that. So yeah, congratulations, Arrow, on 8 seasons, and we're sorry you're leaving, but glad it's on your own terms. You didn't get canceled like Jessica Jones before it aired. So, congratulations. Game of Thrones, we're going to shift gears here. This is nerd-adjacent territory, as Mike likes to say.
Okay.
Game of Thrones, the final season trailer finally debuted this week.
Mm-hmm. And Chris, I'm not trying to cut you off here, but do not tell me anything about it. I don't want to know anything.
No, you're fine. I don't know anything about, like, I'm not a Game of Thrones person either, but I think the schedule for the episodes, can I tell you at least the schedule for one of the episodes?
Of course.
The biggest battle in this is the same weekend as Endgame.
Ooh, that's going to be a crazy weekend.
So we're going to watch Endgame. Like, we're going to watch Endgame. I will want to record early because my wife's going to want to watch that episode on Sunday night. So I'm not editing. So we'll do that, record early, then go watch that episode. So I just think that's going to be a huge weekend in terms of media. Like culminations of hype levels all in one weekend. Like that Monday morning water cooler talk is going to be the nerdiest thing you've heard in the past decade or more.
Yeah. I'm definitely a Game of Thrones fan. I keep up with it every Sunday, but I do my best not to dive too deep into it. Like, I'm not like a crazy nerd. I would be a very, very bad guest on your Game of Thrones podcast if you have one out there. I'm a casual watcher, which has been kind of fun. Kind of takes a lot of the stress out of it. But I've avoided all trailers for every season, so I just go in so cold, not knowing anything. It's great. It's such a weird experience, but man, my Sundays are going to be booked.
Have I told you how I watched the show? I started season 1 and then skipped to 5. And that's all I've watched. 1, 5, 6, and 7.
You haven't filled in the middle?
No, why? Because just to be honest, they're all dead. Anyone who died doesn't matter in the end anyway.
You know what you should do? The really nice thing about YouTube and people that have a lot of time on their hands and they're dedicated fans, people like to put together their own recaps. Yeah. Just Google like Game of Thrones Season 2 recap. Watch it. Maybe probably 10, 12 minutes long. Google Game of Thrones Season 3 recap. And you'll just be able to mainline all of these stories just very, very quickly and get the bullet points. So I would
look,
recommend
I'm not missing anything. They do. HBO does those recaps before every season for like an hour or 2 hours, and we just leave it on in the background. So I don't feel like I'm missing anything at all. Actually, can I jump off topic for a second?
Sure, of course.
So I'm building this little computer that plays all these arcade games. I've showed you this, of course, right? It's on a TV in my background, and it's got a little screensaver, and it just did Jeopardy from regular Nintendo era. And so sorry. And Alex Trebek is cancer diagnosis, and I'm like, that was a conversation all week. Like, who's going to take over Jeopardy? Who do you put in that role, man?
I don't know.
Will Ferrell?
Hopefully nobody. I mean, I know the prognosis is not good for stage 4 pancreatic cancer, but who knows? Maybe Trebek can defy the odds. I'm crossing my fingers for him. I like just how his spirits were so high in that announcement video. He was just like, I'm going to fight it. And he made a joke saying he's contractually obligated to do like 3 more seasons. So I'm pulling for you, Trebek. Yeah. You're a solid man.
Well, after 3 seasons, I mean, everyone's time has to come to an end. Bob Barker left Price is Right, and everyone's like, Drew Carey, but he's still doing great. Like, who do you put in that role? It's just a lot of pressure. So I was like, the timing's awful on you, you stupid screensaver. To hell with you. I like the Gundam shows. I'm going to be honest. These are one of the most westernized animes I really enjoy. And Brian K. Vaughan, writer of Y: The Last Man in the Saga comic books, is writing the live-action Gundam movie for Legendary Pictures.
I saw some really weird reactions to this on Twitter when it was announced. I see people saying, "Oh wow, my favorite comic book writer adapting one of my favorite animes of all time. This is going to be great." Then I saw people like, "Oh, that hack of a writer is tackling this beloved anime. This is going to be stupid and awful." Yeah, so I've seen the whole gamut in the replies on Twitter for this article. So I don't really know what the general public thinks, but
why would they think he's a hack of a writer? Like all this stuff is like heralded for awards and everything like that. Like I don't get that.
I don't know. People are crazy, man. But I love Brian K. Vaughan. Saga is like so fun. It's so weird. So adapting Gundam's going to be so weird. We talked about this maybe months back when they kind of first announced that this was going to be a thing. I just hope Brian K. Vaughan just takes the general concepts of what a Gundam is and just writes his own universe. There's so many different adaptations of Gundam, so many different stories, so many different eras of it. There's no reason to just grab any one character and try to adapt it.
There is a synopsis from Legendary, and who knows how that'll change, but it is the first Gundam and about how colonists like are broken off and they don't want to be controlled by the Earth anymore, kind of thing.
Yeah.
So I think it's very much the very first Gundam series, not any of the other spin-offs and crazy ones.
Yeah, I think if they want to take that general plot, that general idea, that's great. But these are all coming out of Japan. Adapting an anime is always weird because you're not just adapting an animated property, you're also adapting like Japanese storytelling and culture and their love and fanfare for big robots. I think Guillermo has done it the best with the first Pacific Rim, but you got to kind of take a different approach for Gundam.
He merged that with the love of kaijus, though. I want to see how people deal with the creation of the very first Gundam and what that world is like, because Gundams aren't just like, when you think about big large robot battles. Well, Gundams aren't the big large robot battles. Like, they're special robots in these worlds that like have meaning and significance. They're not just like everyone's fighting with the Gundam. Like, no, Gundams were a big deal when they made them. So. Yeah,
and I'm crossing my fingers Kay Vaughn can find a reasonable excuse for why these big robots even need to exist in the first place. Guillermo had a good idea of these big monsters have to be tackled by these big machines. They're like the only type of tool that can really manage the destructive power of a kaiju. But in Gundams, it's just robots fighting other robots. So what made them go to the effort of making all of these movable and opposable like hands and grips and joints and stuff when you could just be launching missiles at each other, So hopefully you can find a justification for us to find these robots. But Gundams are so cool looking. The design of the robot is just so badass. So I'm looking forward to seeing that.
When you're looking at a Gundam. Like, that's a Gundam. So my favorite one is Gundam Wing, and the story of Gundam Wing is the colonists don't want to be controlled by Earth, so these 5 scientists create a Gundam design to send to Earth and then crash a colony into Earth and destroy it, which I thought was really cool. Will I go that far? But that was why the Gundams were created. They would like to thin out the defenses before the colony crashed into the world, which is interesting.
And I'm trying to remember, I think it's a little different because every kind of Gundam series is, I think Gundam is also a classification of the mobile suits, because I think in Gundam Wing, they called like the basic infantry's robots just mobile suits, and then the Gundams were like the classification for like a specialized suit that had like fancy weapons.
It's made out of a certain metal called Gundanium alloy.
Oh yeah, that's right. I wonder if that's canon for all Gundam series, is that alloy, but we're definitely familiar with nerd alloys, talking about like
unobtainium and all these other
vibranium and adamantium. So
you name it. If it's got an EM on it, it's probably something we've heard of. So
Brian K. Vaughan, I'm crossing my fingers for you. I'm hype, man.
If anyone believes he's a hack, go to his Wikipedia page and look at all the Eisner and Harvey awards he's won. Like, this guy's an award-winning writer. He's not a hack.
Or just go read some of his stuff. It's great.
Jeez, anyway.
Yeah, the internet, man.
Lord of the Rings, the series. Now, this is the only thing I think this week that we actually sit down and research together, because we are out of our element, Donnie.
We are not fantasy Tolkien lore aficionados, so we will do our best to bring our take on it, I guess.
Yes. So Amazon has confirmed that the series takes place during the Second Age. There are multiple ages. Lord of the Rings takes place at the end of the Third Age. The Second Age is about 3,400 years long and features the rise of Sauron, the villain of that. And that's where we stopped with the generics, and we went looking.
Yeah.
And boy, did we find some information.
Yeah, like, I just kind of wanted to know the general timeline, because if you're saying, like, oh, we're going to be adapting kind of a story in the Second Age, when I think of, like, an age, I'm thinking of, like, maybe, like, a century, like, in our time, like, oh, what happened in the 1800s, or what happened in the 1400s, or something like that.
The Industrial Age.
It's just like, no,
age.
This is, like, 3,000 years. That is not just a couple lifetimes. That is a whole lot going on there. So that's just a big swath of time. Yeah. So we wanted to...
The Lord of the Rings 3 movies took place across 2 years of this 4,000 plus year timeline we're looking at here. So we looked. The One Ring was made in the Second Age, in the year 1600 of the Second Age. And then Bilbo got that ring in 2941 of the Third Age, which is about 3,000 years later, we decided.
Yeah, so that's a big span, and the reason I wanted to bring this up in general is if you kind of listen to this podcast when we talk about prequels, we mentioned it a little bit in Captain Marvel spoiler cast. There's this thing I like to call prequel-itis. When you're adapting or creating a story that's based on a big franchise or a big cinematic universe, you have the unfortunate side effect of your whole audience knows where this ends up. Everybody knows that, like, oh, this character's probably gonna live because we see them as an old man in one of the earlier movies or something like that. So we just know generally where it's gonna go. And I think this is like gonna be the first time we're ever gonna see a prequel that's set thousands of years in the past. I mean, we're gonna be so far removed from any sort of like Baggins character. Like, there's not gonna be like you're not going to see Frodo's like great plus 1,000 grandma in this. Probably there's not going to be any connection there.
Oh,
so I think
Hacksville Bagginses.
So I'm trying to think maybe this will be a really good thing. And then it made me think of Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic, which the Game of Thrones guys might be adapting for the big screen. That's kind of like the rumor. So I was kind of curious, well, how far back is that? And coincidentally, Knights of the Old Republic and this second age of Lord of the Rings are both set about 3,000 years from their big mainline property. So we might be seeing like a brand new age of prequels where you just take a property and you just throw a baseball as far as you can down the timeline and just try to hit thousands of years back, so you don't have to worry about connecting it to anything.
Well, you also bring up a good point here. Isn't there Lord of the Rings is doing the prequel TV series as well, which is probably about 3,000 years beforehand also. Mm-hmm. Like, this is a whole new land of prequels. Like, this isn't 20 years ago, young Die Hard or whatever, young Indiana Jones. This is like a long time ago. So they're not messing around when it comes to dealing with prequels here, man. So this was a fun little trip we went on to figure all this information out. Yeah,
the only thing that's unfortunate is that one ring to rule them all is a very unaging piece of metal or gold or whatever it's forged from. I don't know. I'm not a Tolkien head. But at least that's not going to be going anywhere. Yeah. The ultimate origin of that ring.
Or maybe he doesn't have it yet. Maybe this is how does he get that gold to forge that ring?
yeah, that's true. We got 3,000 years to explore here, so that's just very interesting. We'll see how that develops. Very nerd adjacent for this podcast, so we might keep track of it. We'll see how it goes. If we get any more big news, we'll talk about it. But I don't think we're going to be tracking this as deeply as we might that next Endgame trailer that hopefully we'll get soon.
God, I really hope we get an Endgame trailer soon. I thought when my contact sent me stuff earlier, I thought it was going to be like, oh yeah, we got an in-game trailer for next week, and I was like, but it wasn't at all. I was disappointed in myself for believing in that. So we recorded 2 episodes today. It's time to go for me. I gotta call it a day, Mike. I know this is short, but
we've already sprung forward, man. We've lost an hour today, and we recorded 2 podcasts.
We did. I gotta go watch the cooking channel with my wife. It's a Cake Boss versus Duff, and they're this other Duff guy, and they're doing cake baking off.
All right, well, good luck with that, man.
I know, not even nerd adjacent, man. I just want to eat cake. But anyway, Mike, if people want to know what you're up to and what your thoughts on Captain Marvel were, where can they find you at?
Well, they can find me at Mike Royer Design on Instagram and Twitter, and you can read my webcomics at pickledcomics.com. Chris, if people want to catch up with you, where can they find you?
You can find me on Twitter at Valdan, Valdan, Instagram, Valdan87. Head over to Comic UI. I will be at C2E2 in 2 weeks. If you're there, come and see me. We'll hang out. We'll do a little shimmy. We'll do a selfie. We'll do one of those things. And we'll hang out there. Yeah, that's really about it. Mike, if people want to know more about where they can listen or watch or see more, all these show notes for Superhero Slate, where can they find everything at?
Well, Chris, that's so easy to do. All you got to do is visit superheroslate.com. That's the best place to find all the avenues. We host our little show and to get our awesome show notes. So if you want to see that Game of Thrones trailer, if you want to see the tweet announcing the Lord of the Rings series, if you want to see the first image of Morbius for some ungodly reason, you just got to see it, you can head over to superheroslate.com and get our show notes. And you can find us on Apple Podcasts, YouTube, Google Podcasts, Spotify, Podbean, TuneIn, Stitcher, iHeartRadio. We'll put it where you want it. If you're on a podcast service and we don't got the show there, let us know and we'll get it listed. If you like us, you can find us on Facebook, you can follow us on Twitter and Instagram. We got merch at superheroslate.com/store. If you want to sport a shirt or a hoodie, you can get that there. We love hearing from you. please reach out. You can reach out to us on Twitter, drop us a line in the YouTube comments. You can send us an email. We love hearing from you. Reach out. And if you're a fan of the show, if you want to be a super fan, all you got to do is share the show with a friend, share the show with a buddy, and we will be here every week, Chris.
Yes, every week, and sometimes twice a week, like this week.
Yeah.
And then in a couple weeks when we do, I think our next review is going to be Shazam. So
yeah, that's right.
It's a great year to be a movie fan. So we'll catch you guys next week.
All right, bye everybody.
Thanks for listening, and don't forget to subscribe.
So orangey, so vanilla.
Coke, send us money.